What if they went out there and they acquired a guy like a DeAndre Hopkins for, from the Cardinals to the Giants? How much would that help Daniel Jones that he gets to have an alpha dog? I mean, that is so important for the development of a young quarterback.
Josh Allen, Daboll's done this already, right? Josh Allen, once he was already improving, then they bring in Diggs, and now he is rocket ship to the moon. Got to have a number one
What it does,
guy.
though, Max, you have a guy in DeAndre Hopkins whose catch radius is outrageous,
ridiculous.
right? You can put it anywhere near him. He has huge hands, and he's going to make the play. They don't have that right now. Honestly, they're hoping their receivers, they believe in them, but they're also hoping that their receivers can make the plays versus just knowing that dog and that alpha man out there is going to make that play in every situation possible.
Like I said earlier this year, Max, it was an evaluation period for the New York Giants. And if something comes along, and then all of a sudden, you got a situation where it's like, well, maybe we're evaluating, but we're evaluating and we're winning and we're in the mix. Let's not just throw it away. And now they're in the mix.
They're in the mix. By the way, Dan Graziano's not on just because. He has this article right now on ESPN.com, guys. Here's the question. Overreaction or not an overreaction? Brian Daboll for Coach of the Year so far.
Oh, it's not an overreaction by
not at all.
They're 4-1 with. Think about what we just said. No receivers, a quarterback who they didn't exercise the fifth year, no contract. A running back who's just getting back.
Who else would be in the running?
A no-name defense, really. Well,
Who else would be in the
except
running?
for the rookies.
Who else would be in the running?
Well,
Nick
Peterson,
Sirianni.
but he's ahead of Peterson right now. The Giants are ahead of the Jags.
Only person I could think of is probably Belichick.
No, Nick Sirianni.
Sirianni, yep.
But Sirianni's got a team that's much more ready. Sirianni started the season.
Went to the playoffs last year.
Went to the playoffs, starting the season. Most of us said the Eagles are the best team in the division. The Giants were picked to be a high draft pick team.
But if all of a sudden you look up and they're 14-3.
Tough not to give it to them.
Got to give it to him.
It's 14-3.
Yep.
Belichick winning with his third quarterback.
Yeah. But 4-1, man. What a job Daboll's done. And it starts to me, guys, with the play call.
It looked like they got this one right, though, Max.
Oh, for sure. From the beginning.
Yeah.
From the beginning, right? And you know what it feels like as a Giants fan, which is so different? When people talk sports, talk radio, especially in New York, people, and I'm talking about the Giants for the last bunch of years, I felt like I knew more than the GM of the team that I rooted for. That's a terrible feeling, right? And it can't be true, but somehow the decisions that almost every fan would have made are better than the decisions that were being made for the Giants.
Some of those decisions that the Giants made are working out because
now they are.
Because here's my philosophy on that. It's all about the coach. Because if I can take you and
Who hires the coach?
Up,
Who hires the coach?
Yeah, but that's different. When you hire the coach and you make bad coaching
Multiple
hires,
coaches they made.
Bad coaching hires. But the talent, assembling the talent, to me, is never the issue. It's the coach. Because
they're not that talented, Key.
Dude, they got talent.
Hold on. They're drafting up in the top of the first round every year. They have bookends on the offensive line now.
But you can get that. You know how many people get that wrong?
The Giants for years, right?
Many people get drafted high wrong.
No, I get it. The Giants for years. But they finally started investing their first-round pick, the highest first-round pick on the offensive line. And this is not, what's his name, Flowers, who, they couldn't coach up. They're getting it right. My point is this. For the first time, they have a GM and coach.
Yes.
Where as a fan, they're like, oh, people come up to me. What do you think the Giants should do? I'm saying they know better than me. They'll do whatever they do is what they should do, right? Like they were in competent hands for the first time in a long time.
Well, some of that is being able to relate to your players too, man.
You
look at the past coaches that they had. I don't think those guys could relate to the guys like Brian Daboll is relating to them. You see him at I can't believe, was it their first win, the second win, in the locker room, dancing with the guys, and the guys understanding that, okay, this guy believes in us. We can relate to him. We could probably go to him about any and everything. Versus the past coaches that they had, hell no, I ain't going up there and telling that coach my business. He may use it against me.
Joe Judge,
it's little things like that.
Joe
He's
Judge
too judgmental.
He came in there. I'm a New York type East Coast guy. All that. That's players don't want to hear that, man. They don't want to hear we're not putting the names on the back of the jerseys until you earn it. Nobody wants to hear
You
that.
can
I'm a
do
grown-ass
that.
man.
You can't do that without a resume as a head coach.
Exactly.
You can do it as
Get
Bill
away with that.
Belichick.
Yes,
Bill Belichick can do that.
You can do it as
Because you got a
Belichick.
resume.
Yeah.
You can do it as Tony Dungy. You can do it as all those guys.
Can't come in there as a guy who's never even been a coordinator talking that type of tough mess, and they're not going to try and hear
I
that.
wonder what made the Giants hire him, though. I really want to know.
You know what it is?
made them hire
I have a
him?
theory about that. I think Mara, and I like the way the Giants have been run throughout my life, right? But everyone has a weakness. And I think they are reflexively conservative, meaning it's okay to be conservative, but not where everything needs to be, oh, this gives me a feeling. It reminds me of how things used to be. And so that's what I want. And if you...
Parcells wasn't conservative.
No, but Parcells...
Tom Coughlin wasn't, for sure, wasn't conservative.
No, no, I don't mean their politics. I mean their basic point of view, where they make the owner feel like this is the old days, like they're constantly looking backward.
Okay.
And I think Judge gave him that same kind of feeling, like,
You know
yeah,
what?
this
What you're
is the
saying?
kind
I
of
can just
football I
look
know.
at Joe Judge, like I told you, Max, before they hired Brian Dable,
No,
and I would have told you that's not the guy.
Right.
But Max,
Just
what
his
you
look alone.
What you're saying is important because when I did the Bill Walsh coaching internship with the Falcons, right? One of the things I said to myself, being in the rooms with those guys, is that I can't sit here and look at everything the way the game was when I played. Because even in that 5 or 6 year span, things have transcended, things have changed. So you have to look at things differently versus even the way you may have had success in the past. It might not be the way you need to have success now, and you got to look at things with a more open mind in today's football.
Now, let me tell you something about New York. There are certain teams and certain guys that don't have to buy a drink if they walk into a bar because they have provided the Giants fans, Yankees fans, whoever it is, with some of their best memories ever. Right now, you know what the Giants could use a little more of? A little better pass rush. I mean, Wink can't just scheme it up all the time, and Kayvon's got to come along and all that stuff.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.